Hello, friends. Good evening. I'm Major Mohammed Ali Shah. I have the proud privilege and honor to be in conversation with a very gallant ex-former army officer who has been awarded the sobriquet of the hero of Manipur by the locals over there in Manipur for a very gallant action that he did. We will hear the story straight from him directly in 1994 when he was posted in Manipur in a place called Tamenglong. Tamenglong, if I remember correctly, Sirke would be able to guide me better. It is dominantly a Naga belt. And in a gunfight, in a firefight, in an encounter, he was wounded grievously. He lost a part of his leg as well in that. It had to be amputated, unfortunately. But at that time, there were two children. A helicopter was sent to evacuate him to safety. And he realized that there were two little children who were also wounded. He chose to get them evacuated over himself first. The children were evacuated to the for medical help. They lived, and everyone thought in the village that Colonel Pillay is no more. They lived with that for many years until 2010, he was invited back to Manipur, and that's the time he was awarded the honor, the sobriquet of the hero of Manipur. So here, let's be in conversation with the hero of Manipur, a real life hero. Sir, Jai Hind, sir, and thank you very much for spending time, sir.
Thank you. Ali, I must firstly commend you for your persistence in trying to get me on the show. I really am grateful to you, but I'm no hero. I just did what every soldier is supposed to do. I think that is what we are. I think so. To call me a hero would not be a thing. And I'd like to correct you. I've been very grateful to the armed forces. My leg was blown off in a grenade blast, but it didn't have to be amputated because the doctors were very good. The army doctors saved my leg for me. They evacuated me to Calcutta, where I was treated in one of the best hospitals, Eastern Command Hospital, one of the best for reconstructive surgery. I was treated by Colonel Mehta and Colonel Bhargava, who later on became Lieutenant General. He was a plastic surgeon, and he really constructed my leg, so it didn't have to be amputated. I'm grateful to God for that, and thank you for this privilege. So tell me, Ali, you've been after me for such a long time. I really respect
I've been
you.
after you. I've been after you for 2.5 years actually.
I know.
And you like and you like अब करेंगे तब करे अच्छा अब करे अच्छा नहीं अब नहीं and I was like I didn't give up. I said
You
नहीं
didn't give
sir.
up. So you got me here finally, yeah. So
अच्छा,
I really, I don't like this sobriquet of being a hero. A hero for us is someone who excels in what we prize the most, and I think in doing our duty, and those who do their duty, whether it's our teacher who teaches us well in our childhood, even a sweeper in a colony who cleans the area well is a hero for you. Somebody who serves you, somebody look the cook guy. I think what we must do is we must excel in whatever we do it to the best of our ability, do what we are meant to do. And I think as soldiers, we are meant to protect those people who are there. I think that is, and like, we look up to leaders, our political leaders who do what they are supposed to do to lead us, to protect us, to guide our country into our destiny. Similarly, we look up to people, a sportsman who plays the game well becomes a hero, right? A film star who acts well is a hero for us. We admire their movies. Like I love to watch some film stars whose movies are. Your uncle is one of them, and of course, I like this. Tom Hanks movies are amazing. You can just watch it blindly. Any of his movies that he chooses, it's like they are. And the sad part is, in our country, we tend to identify with film stars more than real life heroes. So there was this experiment that they did. They showed photographs of some film stars, and then they showed photographs of Vikram Sarabhai and the Baba Atomic Research Center, the ones who created this. And so people all recognize the film stars, but then nobody recognized our real ones who have achieved something in their lives, who've really done something, taken our country where we were. And if you look at it, country where we were, the country that I was born into in the 60s, India, and what we are today. It's so different. I think there's so much, and the ones who brought our country here today, they're the ones who should be the real heroes. And whether it be in science and technology, whether it be in our railways, in our anything. And if you look at the I worked with the International Red Cross. I had an international job. I was in Switzerland, I was in Jordan, and I just realized that I didn't enjoy being there. I wanted to come back to my country. Of course, my mother was not well, and I think at that time the calling was to serve my mother, and I left that job there and came back here. And I felt so much more happier being in my own country. When I lived in Iraq and I saw the fight that was there, like a country, a beautiful country that was destroyed completely, and now that fight between the ISIS led, and against all the popular mobilization front, and the way that country was destroyed, again an ancient civilization like us, Mesopotamia and all those things, the Tigris and the Euphrates River confluence. And then when you look at our own country, I feel so proud that we are and our numbers are also so massive, and there's so much of scarcity, and yet there is a lot of abundance and love. The same love I felt in Manipur when I went back to that village, where they really loved me and they honored me as one of their own. And what I realized is that it's not like my language or my tribe that I belong to or whatever. It's just that basic human values holds good, and it is a great currency. It works everywhere, and that is something that we must value and treasure and celebrate in this country.
So, so you'll be happy to know that I speak Nagamese, in fact, and so I have a lot of friends from there. In fact, so I would like to know. I know you don't like glorifying yourself or talking about yourself. Or I know you are a very humble, modest, down to earth human being. But not for the idea is not to glorify all this thing, but the idea is to drive certain lessons from your experience for many of us who can off on humanity, sir. So could you tell us a bit about the operation in '94 that you were assigned to do about that incident, if you, whatever you could remember, sir?
I was in commission in Four Guards. I wanted to join that battalion. You know, my father was in Second Guards, and my father's friends commanded Four Guards. And Four Guards is a very ancient battalion. It's a very, very, illustrious battalion. In fact, Four Guards, the stories of valor like it's a battalion where lessons for valor and leadership never end. It's a battalion that, of course, before independence, we've been in every single theater of the war that the British took us to. But after independence, we were the battalion that was stuck in Rasmak in northwestern frontier province, the Badlands of Rasmak. It's like even today, bad. And then orders were passed in Pakistan that no Indian flag will be hoisted there. Now, this was first Seven Rajput that time, and the commanding officer, Pakshi Kuldeep Singh, and the other officers decided that there's a certain thrill in disobeying orders, and and defying the odds. So they also came here. They hoisted the flag and celebrated, and then they evacuated themselves from here, bringing in a lot of people, a lot of those people, refugees from that area. They brought into India, and straight away went into battle in 1947. In October 27th, the battle in Kashmir had started, and Four Guards, that is first Rajput that time, was inducted straight away. And Naik Yadunath Singh, you heard of he's the second Paramveer Chakra in the battle. And he was ordered to withdraw, but he refused to withdraw. He says withdrawal is not there in my lexicon, and he just refused. And his 10 men, his section, defended the slopes of Taindhar and Shera, and they got the Paramveer Chakra. So when you grow up in a battalion like that, a battalion that was actually one that led the assault into Dhaka in 1971, crossed the Meghna first, and you have illustrious people who adorn the walls of that battalion, you really feel proud. It's like a place where valor, leadership, and honor and chivalry is written. The actions of the battalion in Dhaka also was very, very honorable. The way they went and rescued uh, the people they were and liberated a state that was under siege. So, and you find when you read the record, you feel proud to belong to such a battalion. And I'm very proud that I was commissioned there. And then it got mechanized. General Sundarji chose the Brigade of Guards to get mechanized. and we were mechanized. And then, mechanized infantry, you don't get the thrill of being in an infantry battalion. You join the infantry for, being in places like the mountains. Or so I volunteered. My good friends were there. Ravi Murugan, who's now the GOC of Bengal, Bangalore sub area, and Piyush Gupta was a major general. They were all there in that unit. They were all same time in NDA, and Akhilesh Kapoor, my coursemate. So I used some jugaad to get posted to 8 guards. So 8 guards is in Manipur, in Assam that time, in Operation Hifazat. Again, a very fine battalion, which is seen action. It is a triple MVC battalion in the Battle of Hilli. That night, we lost a large number of men, but captured the. It was a battalion against a battalion. That normally doesn't happen. It's always 1:3. And 8 guards captured Hilli. Is called the 8th of Hilli. It's a very gallant battalion, done very well. And my commanding officer was one of the finest you could ever have in a battlefield zone. In the sense, I had Colonel Nautiyal, who recognized the potential. One of the greatest qualities of a leader is to understand what a person under you can deliver. Like everyone can't be the same, and to understand what you're good at and to be able to use you for that leadership he had. Brigadier Nautiyal, Colonel Nautiyal exactly knew what I'm good at and what I'm capable of. And so we can't really. There are some people good at athletics, some people good at organizing things, some people are good. So he chose me. He told me that I wanted to go on this patrol, and I went. It's all good luck, and of course God's grace was there. And always in battle, you'll realize it's not just your training or your this thing that matters, but also the grace of God should be there. I was lucky. I went into the right place, right village. We reached there. We were there to actually protect the Kukis against the Nagas. In 1993, 94, there was another phase of what same kind of violence that we are seeing was there. The Naga versus Kuki battle was on, and we were there to protect them. And rest of it, it's just that, when encounter was over, and we are taught in the academy, it's like a boxing bout. We bang each other. At the end of it, when the match is over, it's always well fought red or well fought blue, and red is the winner or blue is the winner. So the battle was over. There was nothing personal between us and those Nagas. They were also fighting for what they believed was right. We were fighting for what we stand for, what our country stands for. Our country stands for certain fundamental freedoms. It talks about equal rights for everyone. It talks about like we are one. It's an amazing country to be born in. Having traveled the world, I realized that whether it's been a developed world or it's anywhere in any part of the world, whether it's Africa, anywhere, I feel so proud to be an Indian, because it's not only like we have an ancient history. We have coming out of slavery. Two countries became independent in 1947, and see where Pakistan is today and where we are today. I feel so proud every time I see, whether it's a space or whether it's a trains running on time, whether it is the buses that we have or the cars that we have, or anything that I see about our country makes me immensely proud, genuinely. So that's it. The fight was between us and them, and we won the fight. So there was no way we could have actually made them kill them, or it was all. And then when I saw those children, we realized that we are there to protect them. We're not here to be a reason for their death. And I think that was the right thing. Anyone else would have done. Many others I know. I've been recognized today many years later. Even mine was an anonymous thing. Like not many people knew it until the village called me back, and honored me with all that, with the love and affection. So some people who've done similar deeds have gone into oblivion. So that way also God has been kind, and people at those villages have been very kind to me in recognizing this, and recognizing that kindness, and in that. So for me, it was my duty to protect them. I think for them, they saw it as a sacrifice, and the love and affection that they give even today, it makes me feel like I have found a family there. The best part of this, Ali, is that my father served in the same village in 1958 when the armed
In
forces spent 58.
1950. Oh,
When,
all right, all right.
when
In
this
Tamil
Naga
Nadu,
hit.
sir.
Yeah, it is Taming Long. It is in 2 guards is deployed
Wow.
there. And I just discovered it now when I went to second guards last year. I'd gone with Ambassador Chinoy. We'd gone there, and just going through the records, and I found Taming Long, El Pabram village. I just can't believe it. And many years later, when I was a 12-year-old boy, we all have this in the fathers in the army. You also must have attended some fancy dress, and they always love to dress their children like Naga, And I was dressed.
I've done that. I've done that.
I was also dressed like a Naga boy, and I was 12 years old. So, and I can't believe it. It's a coincidence. I feel sad what is happening in Manipur because they're such lovely people, such a lovely state, and violence has never. One thing I've realized it in my own experience all over the world, it's very easy to incite people to violence. If I say that this isn't, and I can get 10 people to come and bang up people. But if I say that we need to do something, we need to clean up the village pond, or we need to clean up the lake, or we need to clean up the roads, or we need to do something for, very difficult to inspire people to come for that. Violence inspires, it begets, because we are so used to it's like movies that we see, and the kind of things that we are used to from our thing that we it becomes very whereas non-violence, peace, or working for us is very mundane and boring, and whereas you see all the movies that are super hits are all where there's violence, action, bomb blasts and this and that, Tiger Zinda Hai and Badshah and Pathan and I don't know what all, whereas and the kind of movies that are coming today are so violent, and so this thing, whereas in our times when we grew up we had movies like Diwar, where Amitabh Bachchan says, mere paas car hai, bangla hai, and Shashi Kapoor, the honest police officer, says, mere paas maa hai. That's such a, if you look at it, but I think today's time, the ma will choose to go to a son who's got car, bangla. It's not just the stars. But anyway, the thing is that we had a different value system when we grew up. When we grew up, our honesty was a very great virtue that we all looked up to. People were hardworking, and they, it is, you've seen that movie called, in which Amitabh Bachchan is disowned by Iftekar because he, abandons a ship. Is that Kala Pathar? I don't know whether you've seen it.
Kala Badari, yes, sir.
So nowadays we would protect a child who brings dishonor. So that's a difference between that era where our parents would actually punish us for doing something which is unethical, wrong, immoral. We had a lot of ethics and values that are there in our the earlier generation, and they're the ones who got us to where we are today. From slavery, they are a generation that has seen being a country that has a colonized country, and they brought this today, and where we are today, we owe much to them, and we have a lot of responsibility towards our future generations that we perpetuate these kind of values, and make them all proud of what we have, and make it better for leave it better for the next generation, because we got a country that is like, we grew up in very poor. I remember that we used to get 5 liters of kerosene oil. These lights that we are today, you don't see a power cut today. Do you see a power cut at all? But we had, we had 3 hours power cut. We worked on Petromaxes. You also would have done that with kerosene lamps. You also would have studied under Petromaxes, and all the flies buzzing around. And today we have abundance of everything, and we don't know how to take care of what we have and celebrate these things. And the violence that we see, hatred that we have for each other. At that time there was a impassioned, like a very very passionate identity which is there, and I think that we must develop in us irrespective of where we are, which part we come from,
So when
whichever.
you were in Tamenglong, you did not know that at that time that your father had served in Tamenglong as well?
No, no, no. My father was very fond of Manipur, Nagaland. Those days used to be called Naga Hills, and he told me that these people are, which, and every place has its own particular peculiarities, and we all tend to love those places where we grew up. Like I would love to go back to where I spent my childhood, and my father was very fond, very respectful of those people. Told me that, and that's the reason why I never knew. It's only in 2000, like 2 years ago, or 1 year, last year, that I discovered that my father was exactly in that village. There was an encounter. I wish I could show you that. you know, uh, I'll show you if it's possible, but I can't show it you on the screen here.
Of course. So, but how come you did not know when you were posted there? How come you had no clue about that your father had served?
1958. It is called Naga Hills. I hope you know the history of
Of
Nagaland,
course, very
Manipur.
much, very much.
So,
I
if
trust
you
him.
look
I
at
still
the
wanted to be
problem
from
that
there.
is there today, the problem that is existing is in part much mistake of the understanding and interpretation of the history of that area. Manipur was a princely state, and Nagaland was called the Naga Hills. It was part of Assam. The reorganization took place, and all the problems that we see between Mizoram, Manipur, and interstate boundary disputes that you see is all, the mother state was Assam, and these states were created out of it. And in 1958, the Nagas, the Accords. Nagas is one of the world's largest, longest lasting insurgency movements, and there have been very great opportunities which we've always lost. We've always snatched defeat from the jaws of victory, and that is a sad thing, in the sense that we've almost come to accords, we come to peace, and then again, and you look at it, what happened today in Manipur, in the Northeast for that matter. Northeast was a very, very, had the British not created this devious division of India and Pakistan, today this region would have been much, 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 much better in many ways. So when they created this artificial division between this people of, uh, Pakistan and India, they created a cleavage into a region which was traditionally always one, and they wanted to actually continue to dominate over the Gulf of, the trade that is coming from Middle East, the oil. They wanted to get a toehold, and what better way than to get a client state like Pakistan, which is dependent on you, and they served their interests well, and they used them to the extent possible till they were of use, till the Soviet Union collapsed. And the moment the Soviet Union collapsed, they abandoned Pakistan until 9/11 happened, and they again went and showed some interest. And now again, Pakistan is in the doldrums. And similarly, Bangladesh was a place to overlook the Malacca Straits, and others were an area, the eastern Pakistan, eastern wing. So when that's the reason why when a genocide took place in East Pakistan, uh, Nixon, Kissinger, and the whole of Western world stood by them. Nobody ever raised a voice about why is this genocide taking place? Why are so many millions of East Bangladeshi, East Pakistanis being killed? Nixon, in fact, called Indira Gandhi and our Indians as the evil people in terms of those. Even though Kennedy, the younger brother of John F. Kennedy, had come here and he told them. And then if you read a book called The Blood Telegram, it's the Consul General of America in Dhaka, who talks about the genocide that is taking place, and yet they did, so this is an artificial state. Now the thing what I'm coming to is Chittagong, which is a port which is mostly Buddhist area, was given away to East Pakistan by an act, and they didn't declare to us till the 17th of August that this was going there. Chittagong was mostly Buddhist, 95% was Buddhist, and it was supposed to be. And that is the port through which the produce used to go. And the northeastern part of India had much greater per capita income than the rest of the country. It is a very rich province in many ways. But to cut a long story short, this division came in between, and then how Pakistan and China played into creating those disturbances in that area. You had the Mizo, you had the problems, and all the states had some insurgency movement or the other. In fact, Lal Denga talks about it in his memoirs that he flew into Dhaka. Walked over into Dhaka, and from Dhaka he flew on a different passport to Pakistan, and from Pakistan he went on for to other parts of the world for various training and other things. So this kind of a division was created, and we have seen for in a long time that this was always in the back of beyond for us, and it was a region that was and it's a sad thing that we've again lapsed into this kind of violence in a beautiful state called Manipur, which is is really sad. For me personally, I feel very distressed when I read all that is happening there, and it is not living up to its potential as a state. But look at the people, some of the finest sportsmen you yourself seen, some of the nicest people in our armed forces, or whether it's everywhere, has been from that area. Our best sportsmen are from that region in many ways. So my father was there. He was very fond of that area, and I volunteered to go. That's the reason why when the unit was in the Northeast, State Guards was there. I volunteered to go there, and I was lucky that I went there. And because we were staying in Pathankot, Hisar, places like Ambala. It's very boring for us, in the sense when you're young, you would like to be in some place where the action is, you like Kashmir, you like to be in, high altitude. I volunteered for Siachen, and then I'm a teetotaler. So there was this Kurgi officer, Major Medappa, was my company commander, and he said, you can't survive Siachen without drinking. So I'm the kind who I sniff a ducken of alcohol, I get drunk, So he made me drunk that day, and I met with an accident while coming back, and I broke my leg, so I couldn't go to Siachen. He made me eat, meat, and he says you got to be tough. I was a very puny little guy, so when I went for commando course, there was Colonel MacDevaya. So he told me, "Oh, Pillay, you'll have to go back to the Baltan and eat something and come." I said, "So if anyone needs to eat anything, it is you, because you'll have to eat your words." Because I got a commando dagger, and I did well in the
So,
course. I didn't get a dagger, but I almost got it. But I did very well. I was a commando instructor, and it was very wiry. Unlike all those Schwarzeneggers that you see, the real fit ones are not, muscular people. I think it lies between your ears. Your toughness lies just between. It is not on your muscles. It lies between these two parts of your. I think that's what people should remember. You know.
very true, sir. Very true. Sir, of course, your leg was not amputated in that operation, but of course, the doctors performed a very, very good job, very good surgery. So, wasn't a part of your leg slightly cut from there? I mean, when it was blown off in the grenade blast?
Yeah, they did a very good surgery for me. They took out muscles and so the skin from. They rejoined the right foot was blown off. The grenade. I had four bullets. Yeah, two in my upper arm, one in my chest, and that's the doctors in the armed forces are really good. And I got a lot of blood. I lost a lot of blood, so I remember I wrote a letter to the commanding officer, Colonel William Tate, after I recuperated. I said, "Dear sir, it was this thing." I said, "I'd like to know whose blood was given to me." So it's just maybe because I was on sick leave, I had nothing to do, so probably I was writing letters, and then he wrote me a letter back, which is a very nice thing. The earlier days, this letter writing was such a great art, and people used to
Oh, yes.
write to each other, and it was a very. So the
Point
colonel,
form, point form. Fauji ka letter said,
no, but the feelings
letter
were
writing,
more.
point form, point one, point two.
Yeah,
Sir,
but he
sir.
wrote back to me that, dear Captain Pillay, I'm very happy to hear that you've recovered well and you're doing well and you're at home and all that. And all that you need to know is that you don't need to know whose blood was given to you, but you should be happy to know that we've given you human blood. it works, and as you'll notice, and all that you can do to repay anyone is to actually, when your turn comes to help someone, just do the same thing. Donate your blood or donate whatever you can to save someone's life, and that's a very nice letter which I got, which is so important for us to know that it really doesn't matter where we are from. The blood and what we have in us is the same thing. It works for everyone. It doesn't, a Malayali doesn't need to get a Malayali's blood only. It is. And what that commanding officer wrote to me was that, he gave you human blood, and I'm so happy that it. So remember to keep this kindness going. It's like I remember somebody saying that somebody did me a great favor and I wanted to do something back for him. So he told me that, if you really want to repay me, I said, yes, sir, I really want to do something. Even so, he says, okay, do this. What I did to you, please do it to somebody else. You know, so what I've helped you, I think, keep the goodness going. And I think that is the most important for us to remember, that whatever, we must spread goodness around us. We must make everyone around us happy, proud, to know your company, to be in your, and value you and cherish you for what you are. Nobody's going to remember you that you drove around in a huge Mercedes, or you were a five-star general, but somebody's going to remember you for what the goodness that you did, the kind word you spoke, the kind of help that you gave to them when they were in need. I think that's something that will always remain etched in this head. It's like carved in stone. That memory and that gratitude will be there. Of course, there are people who won't be grateful to you, but it doesn't really matter. But there are some who will, like, this village doesn't have to remember me at all, but they're doing it, so it's a boon for me. It nourishes my soul, makes me feel good, and I think that is something that is invaluable. No amount of money can buy that,
So
isn't it?
years later, how did the villagers trace you out? Years
They didn't.
later.
The Brigadier George, NJ George, who became Major later from Gadwal, he was with me in MOD. He was in the Complaints and Advisory Board. So I used to meet him very often. Nice man he was. So he got posted to Manipur, and he sent a patrol to that particular village to find out, how the children are. Because whenever I used to always wonder, because we never had this WhatsApp or internet and everything, and we never knew. No way you could be in touch. You didn't even know which unit was there, and it's impossible to actually. You have to really be to go down. It's a back of beyond. So he sent a patrol, and the patrol ran into them, and the villagers remembered me a lot. So that's how he called him, and they thought that I died that day, and they remembered me, so they called me back, and it became you know, it's a nice, it's a good feeling.
So you won so many hearts and minds, including the insurgents who you were fighting at that time. And you mentioned about how after a boxing match you shake hands and you say, "Well fought." So how was it then when I'm sure some insurgents must have met you as well at that time, or by now they had come overground. They must have retired from what they were when they from. How was it meeting them, sir?
See, can I tell you something? I'm not like him, but if you see the kind of development that is there, if it happened in my own hometown like this, probably I would also be a militant for fighting for those things. It was an ignored part of the country. It was abandoned. Like I told you, we've snatched defeat from the jaws of victory many times. It's a very, very like a lackadaisical attitude. It was a back of beyond for us. So I don't blame them for wanting to do for that community, for that tribal, that identities that are there, and but then it's a contest today that we have. Our country has a country promises, and we must understand the better idea always wins and prevails. You've seen it in history from the times of Ramayana, Mahabharata. Victory always comes to the good. You've seen in World War II, Hitler didn't prevail. The world, the democratic, the free world prevailed over everyone else. So ultimately, a better idea prevails. You saw it in East Pakistan and West Pakistan, where the West Pakistani, the Punjabi Muslim thought the Bengali Muslim was an inferior character, and there was the cyclone Bhola that took place in 1970, and they wouldn't just deliver aid, and Tika Khan and Yahya Khan decided that they didn't need that kind of and that's one of the reason why Sheikh Mujibur Rahman became so popular, because there was a grievance, and that grievance was given a leadership. So we must understand that, and I'm very proud about my country in the sense that we've actually we've had former insurgent leaders who are actually now chief ministers, you know and I think that is the strength. We mainstream our opposition. We win them over in the sense, there is a contest, and the flexibility of our Indian constitution in recognizing spaces, and like allowing certain special privileges, like what is there. And we've seen that in Kashmir. We've seen section schedules, special schedules for places where the government is capable, the elected government, the parliament is capable of passing laws and ordinances to accommodate the requirements of those people, which is something really great and flexible. So there was really never a contest. I represented, we all who are there working for the government, whether we're in the army or otherwise, we represent the very best of what our country can deliver, and we are there. I think that is what we must remember when we are out in the field. To remember, when whether it's an IAS officer or a police officer or an army officer, or a simple block development officer or a doctor or a health, you should remember that he's getting a salary from the idea that is from the government, and we must deliver the very best. And I think when we do our duty correctly, when we do what we are meant to do, when we are there to protect them, when we are there to serve them, when a teacher teaches those children in a village, it doesn't really matter, that they are, uh, I think we should see it as a blessing. If it's a teacher, you should see that it is a blessing that he's got a job or she's got a job as a teacher, because there are students here, and that making those students. And I think I'm blessed to have those kind of teachers in our childhood who would, like, I grew up in a military school, and we were very weak,
Military
and
School Bangalore, sir. Military School Bangalore,
it's a
and
very
of
great
course,
school.
Then Shankar Rao Chaudhary, he handpicked you to be the administrative officer
Yeah.
at the military school, and you were the first alumni to actually go there. And you were,
I can
I
tell all
was.
the generals who passed out, जिस स्कूल में तुम पढ़े हो उसको आप प्रिंसिपल रह चुका हूँ.
Good
I
one,
can say that to all those guys, because I
good
was
one,
a
sir.
fighting principal for a while. So it is a great honor for me.
Are
God
you
has
in
been
touch
kind.
with Are you in touch with General Nagraj?
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was
always.
Are you in touch with him? He was an army commander when, sir?
Yeah, General RPRC Naidu was the DGMT. He got a AVSM when I was getting my Shaurya Chakra, and
Right.
General Roy Chaudhary was there. And there, the school was to celebrate its golden jubilee, and they were looking for an old boy. And then General Naidu asked me there. He was the old boy himself. He was the school captain in 1958. So he asked me, I'm planning to get an old boy there. How do you think? Because it's military school. It was not like a good, like I was doing very well in the army in the sense I had a Shaurya Chakra. I was an instructor in all my courses. So he didn't want to really ask me, would you like to go there? But he said, how will it be if an old boy goes there? I said, it'll be perfect, sir, because he'll know. He says, then he just said that I made my choice. I said, who's the lucky guy? He says, no, that we have to ask him. So in the sense, he actually got me. I volunteered for it, and I went to that school. We had General Natarajan, who was the AG that time. Then General Nagraj was there. The MS was Hari Prasad. So things could move. There's an infantry officer going to a AC officer's post. And then the best thing is, I got to get technology. Bangalore was the silicon, the hub of all the IT revolution that is taking place. And we were lucky to be there in Bangalore. But that thing had not come into our city, into our school. And we were supposed to be made into an international school named after General BC Joshi because he passed away, and the school was earmarked for conversion to an international school and a lot of things. But then it just fizzled out, in the sense it never happened. How many so anyway. But I walk, we were lucky. I had a very good principal with me after the previous one left, and we had Colonel Major Charanjit, who was later principal of DPS in Singapore for a long time. And he was also a para officer in the sense he was a paratrooper, but served in Mogadishu in Somalia and other places. He had a lot of good exposure to, so we worked together and we got the best. We got computers from Infosys. Those companies have to every year with each development they used to give away a large number of the computers. We just walked across and we got those computers from there, and we got the best integration of IT into school curricula in 2000. And our children from 50% failures, we got 100% distinction in the year 2000. And I realized the power of IT, and that's how I worked with Project Beta with Colonel Das on delivering a handheld PDF for the armed forces. We took a computer platform, and because when I got wounded, I really didn't know where my men were and where, because we didn't have the spatial awareness. So this computer platform, based on a computer which is made by Indian Institute of Science Bangalore, we had an overlay of GIS, and then we had a radio interface, and Colonel Das, Colonel Menon, General Shami Mehta was the Deputy Chief of Army Staff, who was also later the Army Commander, who actually oversaw. And then the scientific advisor to the Raksha Mantri, Dr. Atre, was the chairman for this project. And we delivered a very unique private-public partnership, in the sense the armed forces with a very unique. Now we keep hearing about Make in India and other thing. In 2003, we delivered this project, and we had 1,300 devices were tested and worked out. And, it is an amazing. It is far ahead of its time, but like all good ideas, it also got consigned to. It was delivered as tried in Northern Command. It worked very well, but the future orders didn't come. And of course, I went into the Ministry of Defense, and the project also. The army has its very fixed tenures, and when you hand over, it loses the fizz once it's handed over. So that project never really saw the commercial production. It was tried, tested, worked very well, but commercialization never took place because probably
Right, sir.
we weren't prepared for that at that time.
रियली आपके साथ बात करके इतना मजा आया, गुफ्तगू में बहुत अच्छा लगा. एंड आई नो यू आर बिजी. I had told you, I had promised you some time, and I have gone way beyond that time, and I recall that you are
This is
busy.
why taught us in NDA: look busy, go easy. So the ABCD, they said avoid, bypass, confuse, delay. So we also have that. So I was avoiding coming on. So that's
Good one, sir. Sir, thank you so much for your time, sir. It's been such a wonderful conversation with you, sir, and बहुत मजा आया, sir. शुक्रिया बहुत बहुत. Thank you, sir. Jai Hind, sir.
Thank you. Jai Hind to you. God bless and wish you all the best. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.